Hi, welcome to the Sprint 98 review. The sprint ended on Monday, November 5th. Next slide, please. So I'll be filling in for Oleg today. He's tied up at the moment. Carol will give us a community update. Harpreet will talk about the UI changes. Adam will fill us in on providers. Tina will do the automate. And Gregg will talk about platform, followed by Chris on documentation. Next slide, please. So we had 293 PRs merged this sprint. The majority were in integration test and then followed by the UI Classic. It's kind of a typical because we are in the final phase of this release or kind of stabilization. So not a lot of changes on the code side. It's more about the testing. Next slide, please. Okay. Looking at, we're pretty much stable. It's kind of flat as the number of PRs merged. We're down 4, we're 324 this sprint. Again, we're in the stabilization phase, so we're not seeing a lot of activity there. This is kind of a typical look towards the end of a release. Next slide, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You turn off your video, everybody.
Okay. Looking at the types of PRs that were merged, about 36% were bugs, followed by 30% of enhancements. The technical debt coming in at 13%. So the top areas, top types. Next slide, please. So the health report's pretty unchanged across the board. The biggest change was in the ManageIQ Classic, went down by 144. I don't know what they when induced that. I'm assuming a lot of the cleanup they were doing may have changed some things there. Have to follow up on that. Next slide, please. On to Carol.
All right, thanks. Let me get my slides. Okay, so for this sprint, we have 2 releases. One is the second beta release for ManageIQ Hammer, and the next is another update to ManageIQ Gaprindashvili. So I still have to say this word, Gaprindashvili, for a bit more. So those are the releases. They are available. The downloads are there as well, so check them out. Then for the latest post on last month in ManageIQ, once again, we have Drew Ullman. This time she drew inspiration from Shakespeare's almost said Hamlet, posting the question, to queue or not to queue. So very, very interesting, well-written posts once again. And now on our website, ManageIQ website, the download images have been, download images for Azure, Hyper-V, and EC2 are now compressed. These appliances are getting larger. Some are more than 5 gigabytes now, I think. So, but I think the others are already compressed as part of the image creation process. So these 3 are not, so they are now compressed, and all the download file sizes should now be around 2 gigabytes or less. And thanks to Satoe for making this change. And last but not the least, there's a Ruby meetup in Amsterdam where David will be speaking about smuggling TCP traffic through HTTP. If you're interested, there's more details on the website, amsrb.org. And that's all from me. Thanks. And next slide, please.
Hi all. So during the sprint, total of 73 PRs were merged in all of the UI repos. Out of that, 32 were bug fixes, 6 enhancements, 19 tech debt. I guess that justifies the numbers on the health report, and so on. I have few of the bug fixes highlighted here. A fix was made to allow choosing of dialog only when a custom button is set to be displayed on a single entity screen. Then in the Configuration Explorer, under Diagnostics on region level, if you go to Server tab, a fix was made to show only servers in current region only. Without the fix, there was inconsistency between what you see in the tree on the left side, and on the right, it was showing servers under all of the regions. So the fix was made there. And also there was a fix made to a copy report feature. When copying a report that was under a user-defined folder, it was replacing the original report in the folder with the newly copied report. And then in the V2V area, a fix was made to allow users to change the associated mapping of a migration plan in the UI. And as far as enhancements are concerned, a change was made to add current zone name and region information on the about model. VM-related list views were changed to show VM's power state. Physical server summary screen was changed to show count of physical switches in the relationships box, and a link was added to drill down to the list of those physical switches. And in the V2V area, edit and delete schedule button were added to kebab menu for scheduled migration plans. Another enhancement in V2V area was made to allow sorting, filtering, and pagination on migration plan list views. Next, I have screenshots to show those recent enhancements. So next slide, please. Yeah. On this slide, you can see in the about model region information and the zone information. Next slide, please. So here in the VM list view, now you can see VM's power state in the second column next to the name column. Next slide, please. So this is the physical server summary screen where you, in the relationships box, it's a little blurry though, but you can see the count of physical switches, and then you can drill down to the list view of those switches. Next slide, please. That's the migration plan showing the edit and delete schedule buttons. Next slide, please. And that's a list of the migration plans showing the sorting and filtering and pagination support. That's all for me.
All right, thanks, Harpreet. So it was a light sprint for providers. Next slide, please. We had a bunch of consistent changes that we had to apply to every repo. OpenStack was the only one that really had any commits above and beyond what we had to do across all repos, which I'm going to say is a good thing because we don't have any bugs. Next slide. For OpenStack, they fixed a targeted refresh issue where if you were targeting a volume, it wasn't actually refreshing the VMs attached to that volume. They also fixed another refresh issue, saving all disks for a host, not only the last one, because obviously the last one's not the best. And they backported some fixes from Fog OpenStack, I think 0.3 that was in master. They backported that to Fog OpenStack 0.1.28, which was in the Hammer branch. We don't want to just update to 03 because it also necessitated an update to Fog Core, which we don't want to have to do across all providers in a release branch. So great work on them to actually backport those in Fog OpenStack. And that's it for providers. Over to Tina.
Thanks, Adam. Good morning. We had 21 PRs merged this sprint. For V2V, Fabian made changes to deny transformation plan requests if conversion host is not configured. He exposed validate conversion host to the transformation plan request service model. For dialogues, Eric fixed the VM Cloud image custom button return and cancel endpoints. Drew Yu resolved an issue submitting custom buttons with multiple objects. Eric resolved an issue where ordering a service using the API wasn't calling the dynamic dialogue methods properly. And Drew Yu enhanced the error log message that's generated when a service dialog cannot be deleted due to connected components. Next slide, please. For retirement, Drew Yu added request type and state default values for the new retirement task types. Drew added the system context retirement initiator and resolved the retirement multi-region issue where the user group and tenant were incorrect. Lucy fixed an Ansible playbook credential issue, and Billy Fitz changed the generic service state machine update status method to use embedded methods. That's it for Automate. Next slide, and over to Greg.
Okay, on the platform side, we merged 26 PRs, a couple enhancements here. So Libor made a pretty significant enhancement to basically support product features in subtenants. So that the problem he was solving was that if you have visibility to like a service catalog, because in your tenant you get to see your catalogs and the ones of the parents, if you had edit rights, you could also edit the ones that are above you and not just the ones in your tenant. So this actually gives flexibility to be able to turn on or off those product features at tenant level. Something that we hadn't been able to do in the past, as far as a bridge between what you can see and what you can do, was pretty significant. You see there's a bunch of PRs listed here. One of those, at the link on the first line there, is the issue that actually has a lot of details about it. And another enhancement was being able to set retirement date for service through central admin. Yuri worked on that one. And then some bug fixes. Yuri made the timeout for the DB backup task configurable. It was hard coded to an hour previously, and that in a lot of cases was not enough time. Nick made a change for embedded Ansible to be able to recover after failover by rerunning the setup playbook. It allows it to connect to the standby database that just got promoted as the primary. And then allow service retirement over central administration. That was a bug that was fixed by Yuri. And an error page too when canceling a job. You fixed that one too as well, Yuri. Next slide, I got some screenshots of the product features. So this is basically broken out, these features under service dialogues. And I forgot to mention on the other slide that it was tenant quotas and service dialogues. It was limited to those things. Not sure if we're going to expand it or not. We also have to be cognizant of, depending on how many tenants we have and how deep the tree is, we're going to have a lot of stuff on this UI. But you can see the breakout there of the different features broken out by tenant. If you go to the next slide, just shows an example of a user one and test one. And this doesn't make a lot of sense without seeing what the hierarchy of the tenants are, but this guy doesn't have edit rights, but another to the same dialogue, but in the next slide, another user in a different tenant does. You can see got the edit there. And that's it for the platform.
Hi, on documentation in this sprint, we had 12 PRs merged, 7 of which were enhancements, 5 of which were bugs. A lot of the work went towards the infrastructure migration project. Among those highlights, we have one that addresses support for shared storage on Rev and specifies there is no local storage. We've specified naming conventions for VMs to exclude special characters and spaces. Got a new section for migration plan troubleshooting and infrastructure mapping additions. And lastly, we've got an update to the VM snapshot section that removes any Rev-specific language. Is it for documentation?
And that's it for Sprint 98 review. We'll get together again on the 21st. And that's it for the day. Have a great day, everybody.
Awesome.